And welcome to the Hot Seat of College Football Show. I am Trent, your host, as today we're going to be doing a 2026 Ohio State schedule prediction. Let's talk about it. So, coming into this year of college football, Ohio State has arguably the hardest schedule in the entire sport. Obviously, teams like Michigan have hard schedules. Texas has a hard schedule, but I'm pretty sure Ohio State has a schedule unlike any other. I'm going to give you my schedule prediction from Ball State all the way to Michigan, and then maybe even a little Big Ten championship preview if we get to that. I also just did an Ohio State versus Oregon preview where I go way more in depth about that game. You should go watch that video if you have not. But I want to start off with Ball State. Week 1, Texas. I know everyone talks about Texas, but remember, Texas was week 1 last year. This year, they're not week 1. They are week 2, so it gives Ohio State a little bit of prepping time to get ready. So, starting off with Ball State at home and week 1, and I would assume this is probably going to be a 3:30 CBS game. I'm not going to give a score prediction for this game. Actually, you know what? 52-3 for Ball State week 1. I'm probably going to go to this game. So if you're going to the Ball State game, let me know. I might see you there. But I think the biggest one is starting in week 2 at Texas. I did a in-depth video for Ohio State, Texas, Ohio State, Indiana, Ohio State, Oregon, and Ohio State, Michigan. So if you want to see my more in-depth takes, if you disagree with me, go watch those videos. But a lot of people have Ohio State losing on the road at Texas. Obviously, they have Arch Manning, Colin Simmons, and Ohio State has beaten Texas 2 years in a row. It's really hard to beat teams 3 years in a row, especially when you're going on the road. But I think the Big Ten is far better than the SEC. So I have Ohio State beating Texas. I have them beating Texas 27-20. If you want to see my breakdown on why, go watch my Ohio State versus Texas video. The early previews will be pinned up here. You can end in the description. Week 3, ending off non-conference, they're playing Kent State, and Ohio State's going to be winning this game. This is easily a toss. It's not a toss-up game. This is easily a win. And it's kind of unfortunate that they're playing Kent State and Ball State because these teams are absolutely god-awful. And it's not even that it's like, oh, Ohio State gets to play a god-awful team. That, they're kind of fun. But, Grambling was fun with the HBCU band. It's kind of like, even like when the band was playing at halftime, Ohio Stadium's crowd cheered for them. When we're playing Bowling Green next year, that's going to be awesome. We're all cheering for Eddie. We all love Bowling Green. That's where Urban was. Bowling Green actually has a lot of ties to Ohio State. And then even when I'm thinking back when you played, playing the schools in Ohio like Kent State and Akron, I like. But when you played Hawaii, that was cool. When you played Navy, that was really cool. Even when you played Cincinnati, that's cool. When you played Ohio U last year and you brought Rufus back to the shoe and they had their makeup, I was at that game. It's fun. When you play teams like Ball State and even Kent State, they're so bad. They're not fun. We don't care about them. Same with Akron. I know there's a lot of Ohio State fans in Akron, East Northeast Ohio area. But Kent State's so bad, but I got Ohio State winning. We'll just say, 49-0. It doesn't really matter. But now opening Big Ten play with a rivalry game, Illinois at home. Ohio State went to Champaign last year. This was a ranked Illinois team. They had lost, got blown out by Indiana. Then they had beaten USC on a walk-off field goal. Now they play Ohio State. It's where Big Noon was. It was number 1 versus number 15. Ohio State takes care of them 34-16. But now Illinois coming back to the shoe. They do not have Luke Altmaier. Now bringing in Katon Hauser. And even though it's a rivalry game, there's a trophy for it, the Turtle, the Illabuck. I'm going to pick Ohio State to win. I even though people say Bielema is like quarterback proof, I don't know. They've lost a lot. They're going to be good. Honestly, if Illinois gets to play another SEC team in the bowl games like Tennessee and South Carolina, I would probably pick Illinois. I think they could definitely beat probably a third or half of the SEC, that lower half that's not very good. But I think they've had 2 really good years where they get 8 or 9 wins. I think they even got 10 wins 2 years ago, but I think they're going to take a little bit of a step back, and I'm going to pick Ohio State to win. We'll say I don't know. We'll say, I'll make it better than it was last year. Let's say 42-14. 42-14. That's a good, maybe 42-17. But yeah, I got Ohio State winning that. So they're 4-0 with a win over Texas. 100% they should be the number one team in the country at this point. Next week, week 5 on the road at Iowa. The question for this game is one thing, will the weather be good? And second, will this game be at night? Playing at Iowa at noon compared to playing at Iowa at night are two completely different things. And we'll see. Will Big Noon kickoff kind of steal this one? At Texas will be a night game. At USC will be a night game. And, I'll say Illinois. We'll see if Illinois will be a night game. I don't know, but Michigan will be noon. At Nebraska will be noon. Maryland at home will be noon. Illinois will probably be noon. Kent State will probably be noon. So that's already 5 big noon kickoffs. We'll see about Oregon. I don't know. Having 6 big noon kickoffs is freaking brutal. So we'll see. We'll see if I could see at Iowa being let me actually see. Let me look at the other Big Ten schedule. So that's week 5 at Iowa. Indiana is at Rutgers. Okay, USC is playing Washington at home. That won't be big noon because they don't do big noon for West Coast teams. Penn State's at Northwestern. That will probably not be a noon game. Michigan is at Minnesota. That's an actual rivalry game. It's been big noon kickoff the past couple of years. I could see that being a big noon kickoff game. So it's either going to be Michigan at Minnesota or Ohio State at Iowa. If Ohio State at Iowa is not a noon game, maybe it's a 3:30 game. I could see it being a CBS game. But if it's at night, that crowd is rowdy. The weather is usually not great in Kinnick. And I don't know if you remember 2017 Ohio State going on the road at Iowa. It was not pretty. I think we lost by 31? It was not pretty. So I'm not saying Ohio State's going to lose, and I'm not even saying this game's going to be close. If you've watched my Big Ten ratings, Iowa doesn't have a quarterback, and it's not like usually where it's like, Iowa, they don't play offense, but sometimes they actually have like Cade McNamara was somewhat of a D1 level athlete. I'm not saying the guy they have now isn't, but for right now, it's a freshman, never played before, you've never heard of him. Mid to low star recruit, has a last name you can't pronounce, and that's not saying he's not going to be good. That's kind of what Iowa does, but as a true freshman, it's not really what you want. Let me see what his name is. Jeremy Hecklinski. Some people are saying that it could be Hank Brown from Auburn, if you remember him, but Jeremy Hecklinski, I don't know. If it's Hank Brown, okay. That's better than Cade McNamara. Don't know if it's better than Gronowski. Hank Brown was all right at Auburn, and I think he maybe at Oklahoma for a year. I don't know. But I'm going to say Ohio State wins. I'm going to say they win by 17. We'll say 27 to 10. 27 to 10. That's a good, maybe it's like a 10-point game at halftime. If you remember Ohio State playing on the road at Wisconsin in 2023, maybe something like that game. Now, okay, back in the shoe, Maryland at home. Look, I gotta stop saying they got a good head coach, because I've been high on Loxley, and he has been terrible. I will say they do have a really good quarterback in Malik Washington. Was a 5-star freshman last year. In year 2, he did not transfer. He came back. And actually, Maryland returned quite a few starters. They did kind of they gave out the wallet. They gave out some money to their players. So we'll see. We'll see about Maryland. We'll see about Malik Washington. But again, not going to be very hard for Ohio State, I really don't think. And I'll say Ohio State wins, let's say 41 to 13. 41 to 13. Let's just say that. Now, week 7, if anyone says this is a night game, they don't know what they're talking about, because Ohio State goes on the road to face the reigning champs, and that is the Indiana Hoosiers. I made a preview for this game. If you want to see that, you should also go watch that video. Look, this is going to be a big noon kickoff game, 100%. I have not been high on Indiana. This is the past 2 reigning national championships. I would say the past 2 reigning Big Ten champs. Indiana won it last year. Oregon won it the year before, but Ohio State beat Oregon in the playoffs handily. So we'll say, the past 2 reigning champs, the past 2 technically, I guess, kind of the Big Ten champs, and the top 2 teams from last year. I think Ohio State was better than Miami. They just played a really bad game and had a bad game plan. But I've not been high on Indiana. The coach, the returning, the coordinators, the head coach, Charlie Becker, Carter Smith. So they got some pieces coming back on both sides of the ball and in the coaching staff. Josh Hoover is a Big 12 quarterback. I said this in my, what was the video I just made? It was my top 25, and I was talking about Josh Hoover and looking at where all the best quarterbacks in college football have came from. Sorry, I'm very sick right now if you can't tell. I'm very sick, but they all come from the West Coast in the Pac-12. Think of all the best quarterbacks. Fernando, where'd he come from? Cal, who was in the Pac-12 2 years ago. John Mateer, Washington State, Pac-12. I know he wasn't great, but he was supposed to be great. I think he could be great this year. Cam Ward, Washington State. That was in 24 and 23. Michael Penix, Heisman finalist. He came from Washington in the Pac-12. Bo Nix, almost went to the Super Bowl this year. If he doesn't get hurt, he probably does go to the Super Bowl. He came from the Pac-12. In 2022, or even staying in 2023, the Heisman actual winner, Jaden Daniels, came from Arizona State in the Pac-12. In 22, Caleb Williams, Pac-12. The best quarterbacks from the 22, 3, 4, 5, 6, the best quarterbacks from the past 5 years. Even Julian Sand, he was a California kid. They're all coming from the Pac-12 and the West Coast. They're not coming from the Big 12. They're not coming from the Big 12 at all. And it's weird because the Big 12 has always been known as the offensive league. I know Will Howard won a national championship. He came from Kansas State. But Will Howard was a 6th-round quarterback. I think he slid. I think he probably should have went in the 4th round. But he was not a Heisman finalist. So they've been all the Pac-12 kind of merged with the ACC, not the Big 12. Josh Hoover coming from the Big 12 where he was good. Honestly, okay, he was pretty good for a Big 12 quarterback. He's a veteran guy, but he's not a Heisman guy. He's not a guy that can, I think, extend the bell curve for Indiana's offense where they're going to be, go 16-0, even maybe 12-0 again with this schedule. So I'm going to pick Ohio State to win. I think Ohio State kind of beats the crap out of Indiana. I have them winning 37-22, and I had Indiana having a late touchdown. So really this game was 37-15? 37-14. I think Ohio State wipes the floor with Indiana, but thank goodness because you have a bye week. So you've played at Texas, Illinois, at Iowa, and at Indiana, and you get a bye week. Great, right? Well, Ryan Day teams don't usually perform well coming out of bye weeks. I don't know why. Remember, they lost to Oregon, went to a bye week, came out of the bye week, played god-awful against Nebraska. I know I was at that game, and then did not play great against Penn State. They still won, but very, very sloppy against Penn State on the road. So you're at Indiana bye week. Now you're at USC. And we know the record of West Coast teams coming to the East Coast, and we know the record of Midwest, East Coast teams going to the West Coast. As much as I hate USC, and I really do, I probably shouldn't even say this because I haven't made an early prediction, but I'll say it, or an early preview for this game. I think Ohio State beats Indiana. I think they're 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 7-0, the number 1 team in the country. They go on the road at USC at night, a team that they're better in, and I think they lose. I think Ohio State loses to USC. The stretch of at Indiana bye week, at USC, Oregon, it's too much. It's too much. It's way, way too much. So I think they lose to USC. Disappointing loss. Kind of but it's what? We lost to USC again? Because USC has been seen far below Ohio State. And if I look at where USC lost to Oregon. So now USC is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. They are 8-1. And Ohio State's 7-1. So now USC I have USC winning 29-28 with a walk-off field goal. So I still don't know if USC would be ranked above Ohio State. I would assume, I don't know, because USC would be ranked like 10th or 11th, and Ohio State would be number 1 in a 1-point loss on the road. Would they jump USC all the way up above Ohio State? Maybe. I guess say Ohio State falls to like number 4, where it would be like, I don't know, Georgia, Oregon, Notre Dame, USC. Ohio State would maybe fall all the way to 5. So now they are what? They are 7-1. They beat Indiana by a week, lose to USC. Now they have to play again Oregon at home. And they've talked about Ohio State having less big noon games. They've also talked about Ohio State bringing back the black uniforms. I released my Ohio State Oregon preview yesterday. You should go watch it. Please let this be a blackout and let this game be at night. If you can do this, I'm telling you, this is the best game of the year. The best environment of the shoe in a blackout at night versus the number 1 team in the country, coming off of a loss, looking for revenge or hungry. And I have Ohio State winning 27-23. If you have not watched my Ohio State Oregon early preview, go watch it. But I have Ohio State winning close. I think Oregon, they're down 27-23, looking to take the win. And I think Dante Moore throws an interception to Devin Sanchez and wins the game. Also, Oregon fans have been I just, in my spring game video, it blew up, got like 500 views. It was a top 10 most viewed video on this channel. And I'm like, man, Oregon fans are so nice. And you guys are very, very, very nice if there's any Oregon fans watching this. But I picked Ohio State. And the other side of the fan base that gets very emotional, very upset. You ain't doing no effing research. You ain't doing no effing research. Talking about how I said Ohio State is going to have a better defensive line than Oregon. Yeah, we have Larry Johnson and a returning defensive coordinator. You don't. They talk about, Bear Alexander and Mateo Ungole are going to be first-round picks. Okay, where were they against Indiana? Because when you played Indiana in the Peach Bowl, you had 1 sack, and I'm telling you it was not any one of them. I know that was last year. You didn't have any sacks against Ohio State with Derek Harmon, with Mateo Ungole, with Jordan Burch. You had 1 sack in garbage time against Will Howard as he's trying to scramble. A 1-yard sack. That's all you had. That's all Oregon had in that game. And they're trying to tell me that Larry Johnson, who replaced the entire defensive line 1 year, now in the next year had one of the best defensive lines in the country. Literally replaced the entire defensive line, had the backups with Edric Houston, Caden McDonald, Kenyatta Jackson, and Caden Curry, and they were better than Oregon's defensive line. And you try to tell me again, you ain't do no research. You ain't do no research. Oregon has a better defensive line. You're an idiot. All right. Well, I don't care how many first-round picks you have, which they don't have a ton of first-round edge rushers. I mean, name the last time Oregon had a first-round edge rusher. I don't remember. I remember the first time Ohio State had one. It was the 5th overall pick, like 2 weeks ago. Oh, yeah. Does that jog your memory? But I like Oregon. I'm not trying to beef with Oregon. It's just the select few that try to pick fights, and then when I fight back and when I beat them, they get butt hurt and then run away. So all the other Oregon fans that are nice, I'm chill with you, bro. Because we both have this hate for Michigan, USC, and Indiana. We don't like any of them, and then we kind of pair it. I know we have our recruiting battles, but anyway, as I'm at that point, if you have not hit the subscribe button, please hit the subscribe button. If you're 18 minutes into this video, we're trying to get to 500 before the beginning of this up-and-coming season. We're at, 319? We're actually 1 away from 320. If you want to help us get to that, would be also amazing. Also, if you enjoyed today's show, please hit the like button. It means nothing to you, costs nothing, and it really, really helps me out and helps me know that I'm doing a good job. You guys are liking the videos. Also, let me know down in the comments, what do you think Ohio State's schedule prediction, and if they go 12-0, let me know the record prediction and who they lose to or who they win to. So let me know. Now, Ohio State is what? They are 8-1. I would say they probably are back to the number 3, ranked 3 highest team in the country behind Georgia and Notre Dame. And actually, maybe USC is 3. Maybe you're 4. Because I think it would go Georgia 1, Notre Dame 2, USC 3, Ohio State 4. Man, no one sees that. I see it coming. Georgia, your top 3 late in the season is going to be Georgia, Notre Dame, and USC. No one sees that coming. I see it coming. But week 11, Northwestern at home. I'm excited for this game because Chip Kelly comes back to the shoe. And unlike the Penn State game where Jim Knowles come back to the shoe and we all booed him when they showed him on the Jumbotron, we're all going to cheer when Chip Kelly comes back to Columbus. I'm very excited. I'm very, very excited for this game. And, under David Braun, Northwestern is going to be a feisty team. They're going to be a little feisty. They got Aiden Childs from Michigan, so I'm excited to see that game. I'll say Ohio State wins. I'll say they win. I don't know. Let's say 34-20, 34-7. I'll say 34-20. A little bit of a slip game. Chip Kelly's a good offensive coordinator. I'll say Northwestern gets some points on the board. We won by 14. A little bit of a slugfest. Northwestern gets a couple, maybe 10-7 garbage time points. And now you're on the road at Nebraska the week before Michigan. I don't think Nebraska's going to be very good. They just lost. I think they have a decent coach in Matt Rule, but they had lost Dylan Raiola to Oregon. And I don't know. I'm a little bit concerned because Ohio State usually does not play great the week before Indiana or before Michigan. Last year they played Rutgers and they played good. Was it 42-9, but it was like 14-3 at half. Half the starters weren't playing. Jeremiah and Carnell were out with injuries. The year before that, you played top 5 Indiana and you destroyed them. The year before that, in 23, you played, Minnesota before Michigan. You did not play well in the first half. The year before that, you almost lost to Maryland on the road. So kind of the week before Michigan, when you're playing on the road, we'll see if night games on the road at Nebraska against a big team. Either Nebraska sucks, that crowd is shown out. I think Ohio State will win. I think it's same thing with like the Iowa game where it's like, man, this could be tough, but like, is it actually going to be tough? This could also 100% be a big noon kickoff game, which is probably what it's going to be. And it'll be sleepy. I'll say Ohio State wins 24-7. They win by 17. Very sloppy game. And now Ohio State is 10-1. They already have one Big Ten loss. If they take another loss, they're not going to go to the Big Ten championship. And if they lose to Michigan, then Oregon and Indiana would go to the Big Ten championship. But if they win, they will play Oregon, who is 11-1, only lost to Ohio State. They will go to the Big Ten championship. So, Michigan at home. If you've not watched my Ohio State Michigan early preview, go watch it. I have a whole playlist about early previews. Right now, it's only for Ohio State games, but I'm going to be doing a bunch of other. We're going to be doing LSU Ole Miss later this week and next week. So, Ryan Day is 2-4 versus Michigan. If you want to count 2020, he's 3-4. Take out the 2 cheating years, he's 3-2. So, hey, he's 2-4, but he's also 3-2. Hey, I'm a glass half full guy. Ryan Day's 3-2 versus Michigan. But he's never beaten Michigan at home. He's beat them 2 times on the road. Has a winning record on the road against Michigan. Never beat him in the shoe. Didn't do it in 22. Didn't do it in 24. Can he do it in 26? I don't know, man. I don't know. Just because I think saying Ohio State's going to win against Michigan is an understatement. I think they're going to take Bryce Underwood. And do you remember when Ohio State played Tennessee, what they did to Nico's helmet? I think they're going to do that to under Bryce's body. I think Ohio State's going to kill Michigan, and I don't think they're going to kill him on the scoreboard. I mean, unless it's 2019 Ohio State again, where they're scoring 63 points or 56 points against Michigan. I think it's going to be like a relatively maybe kind of close on the scoreboard. But man, if you watch the game, Michigan is so soft. I mean, I know Kyle Whittingham's there, but man, if you watch the Michigan spring game, which I also have a video on, Bryce Underwood has not improved. That dude is so ass. I mean, he makes some amazing throws. And if he was under a Lane Kiffin offense or a Ryan Day offense or a Sean McVay offense or a Kyle Shanahan offense, he could be great, but he's not. He's under Sharon Moore's non-existent offense. And now Kyle Whittingham, which all Kyle Whittingham does is run his quarterbacks. They do great. They did great at Utah, but that's all he does. All he does is run his quarterbacks. Look at Dan Pierre last year. I mean, he ran... What was the guy at Utah that was there for like a billion years? What was his name? Cam Rising. Kyle Whittingham ran Cam Rising so many times his body broke and he had to retire in college. That's how many times he run him. And Ohio State does not have Sonny Styles, Caleb Downs, or Alvar Reese to help spy Bryson Wood, but they do have Riley Pettijohn, and they do have Earl Little Jr. at nickel, who is going to absolutely blow up Bryce. I mean, this dude is so buns. They don't really, I mean, they have Andrew Marshall, I think he's a good receiver, but who's developing him? Because Kyle Whittingham, same with Matt Campbell at Penn State. It's not like they get these guys and they develop them for the NFL. They get the most out of the underdogs. And that's not what Michigan is. Michigan gets decent to good recruits, and they don't need to get the most out of underdogs. They need to develop them to, play against blue blood giants like Ohio State. So in the first half, I'll say Ohio State's up. Let's say 17 to 10. So it's 1 point better than last year. They're up by a touchdown. I'll say Ohio State's up 17-7. Michigan gets a long field goal. It's 17-10. Ohio State gets the ball. They score again. It's 24-10. Then Ohio State. Actually, no, that doesn't make sense. Yeah, let's say they're up 14-9. 14-9 at halftime. Ohio State scores touchdowns 21-9. Michigan gets a touchdown. It's what now? 21-16. Ohio State scores another touchdown, 28-16. They kick a field goal. I think Ohio State wins 28-19. Again, kind of close on the scoreboard, but I'm talking about Michigan 3 and out, where the score is kind of close because of how Ryan Day plays, but it's like Michigan was never even close to winning this game. So I have Ohio State beating them 28-19. And they go 11-1 with the only loss being to USC on the road. And that sets up the Big Ten Championship against Ohio State and Oregon, where I said this in my Ohio State-Oregon preview yesterday. I would maybe think about picking Oregon to win the Big Ten Championship. Do I think Ryan Day is going to lose the Big Ten Championship 2 years in a row? I don't know, but beating Oregon twice is really hard. So I'll leave it up to you guys in the comments to tell me who would win that Big Ten matchup. But that's my Ohio State schedule prediction. Again, win over Ball State, win at Texas, win against Kent State, win against Illinois, win at Iowa, win against Maryland, win at Indiana. So you're 7-0. Bye week, you lose on the road by 1 point at USC. Then you beat Oregon, beat Northwestern, beat Nebraska, and beat Michigan with a record of 11-1. Let me know how you guys all felt about this. Let me know down in the comments. What do you think Ohio State's record is going to be in the regular season next year? Also, if you're not subscribed yet, please hit the subscribe button. And if you've not, before you leave, please hit the like button. But again, that's all I have for you guys today. I'm going to be doing a Heisman prediction coming out later tonight, so stay tuned for that. But again, that's all I have for you guys today. I'll talk to you guys all tomorrow. And as always, thank you.